It's a real wake-up call when you notice that your wife, who used to call you 3 times a night, suddenly stops checking up on you. I know it sounds bizarre, but facts are facts. She used to call me all the time when I was out with the guys, and she'd start lecturing me. For example, if we were chilling at a bar, which wasn't often, maybe for someone's birthday or something like that. This weekend, I'd raise my glass to my lips. I'd get a call. "Hey, you okay? Don't drink too much. You better not drive. Make sure you eat something. And don't lose your wallet." All pretty sensible, I guess, but sometimes it drove me nuts still. I'd always try to listen politely, Andrea assure her. Then all of a sudden, my Megan stopped calling me completely. Just like that, I realized it a few weeks ago when my buddies and I went on a fishing trip, our usual 2-day affair. Typically by the end of day 1, we've each gotten 2 or 3 calls from home, but my phone stayed dead silent the entire time. Same thing on day 2, and only a couple hours before we packed up to head back did I see a missed call from my wife. She asked if I was good when I'd be home and said she'd whip something up for dinner. I got to admit it threw me off. Why the sudden change? Look, I'm not fond of being micromanaged. I'm a grown adult and I don't go out that often. My circle of friends is tight-knit. We've known each other since we were kids. They're all reliable, responsible guys, but I also didn't love feeling like my wife didn't care at all when I got back from the lake. I started paying closer attention to Megan, comparing how things used to be with how they were now. And my conclusions, well, they weren't exactly pleasant like anyone else. I hoped I was just imagining it. Unfortunately, I wasn't for a whole week after that. Megan never called me at work before. She might have called 2 or 3 times in a single day, just to ask how things were going or what I wanted for dinner. She used to greet me when I came home exhausted, help me take off my coat, sit me down at the table, heat up dinner, make me some tea, rub my shoulders. If I complained about a headache, she'd run for the Advil in a heartbeat. It was almost idyllic, and she wasn't the only one putting in the effort. I was always attentive to her too. I'd drive her to the salon or to get her nails done or go shopping with her. Sometimes I'd bring home flowers for no reason at all. I tried to give her nice gifts, take her out to dinner and a movie because I figured a woman with a fun, active life would be happier, and up to a certain point that seemed to be the case. But lately I'd come home and find her either binging some TV series or chatting on Skype with her girlfriends. She'd just tell me the food was in the microwave and that I could make my own tea if I wanted. One Friday night I had a raging headache and asked for some medicine, and she was just like, "Oh, I think we're out," and kept scrolling on her phone. I halfway expected her to run down to the pharmacy or maybe knock on the neighbor's door. But nope, she just stayed put. That's when it hit me. Megan's feelings for me were fizzling out, and the only explanation that seemed to fit was that maybe she had someone else in her life. That thought messed with my head. I hated the idea, but logic told me there had to be a reason, and a new boyfriend would certainly explain her sudden change in behavior. I started eavesdropping on her phone calls, but all she talked about were shopping deals, new hairstylists, stuff like that. She still came home on time. If she was ever half an hour or an hour late, she'd show up lugging grocery bags, and I know how crowded stores can be at rush hour, so it sounded totally legit. But eventually I stumbled onto something suspicious. I had a day off from my job at the power plant. It's shift work, so my days off don't always land on weekends. Megan has a regular Monday to Friday schedule. One evening, she walked in around 7, dropped 2 small grocery bags by the door, and dashed to the bathroom. I decided to be helpful, so I carried everything into the kitchen, started putting it away, and saw a receipt at the bottom of one bag purely out of habit. I glanced over the item list: bread, pickles, salami, standard stuff. Then I noticed the timestamp 12:47 p.m. That meant she did her shopping on her lunch break. Yet when she came out of the bathroom, she went on about, "You wouldn't believe how jam-packed that supermarket near my office is in the evening. So many people." I waited in line for half an hour. Normally, I wouldn't have thought twice, but that receipt was from lunch hour. So if she'd already shopped at midday, why the delay after work? Her job ends at 5. She got home at 7 while throwing travel time, and there's still at least an hour or so missing. She clearly wanted to cover up that missing time by claiming she was stuck at the store, so I started calling Megan more while I was at work, especially since I'd asked for more night shifts for the higher pay. Leaving her alone in the evenings. Sometimes she'd say she was about to go to bed, and I found myself picturing her crawling under our covers with some other guy, Turns out I wasn't too far off. At one point, I caught her in a weird little lie. I rang her around 900p. Hey Meg, how are you doing? Not too cold over there? Nah, I'm good. I just had some tea, wrapped myself up in a blanket, and I'm watching TV. I'll probably head to bed as soon as the show ends. Got it, actually. The reason I called is that my buddy Mike borrowed my power drill, he said. He'd drop it off in a minute. She got flustered the second I mentioned Mike. Might stop by. Oh, shoot. I totally forgot. My friend Taylor just called and we decided to go for a walk. She'll be here any minute and we're heading out. Can you maybe tell Mike to bring the drill another day, but you literally just said you were about to go to sleep, I guess. I dozed off earlier and forgot Taylor was coming. Can you please call Mike? I mean, what more evidence did I need that something was off? My patience was wearing thin. So I decided to investigate for myself. A couple of days later, I told her I was working another night shift. But instead of going to the plant, I parked my car down the street, well out of sight. I killed the engine, grabbed an old blanket, and tried not to freeze in the cold about an hour and a half. Eventually Megan called me supposedly to check in on me at work. I said everything was fine, and after hearing that, she said goodbye. A bit later, I saw the kitchen light switch on. I crept closer, using the trees for cover. A male silhouette flickered past the window, then the curtains got pulled closed. I darted upstairs, unlocked the door, and stepped in. Megan came rushing into the hallway, clearly shaken, trying to keep her cool and act like the beautiful wife. Honey, you're back, she cooed, throwing her arms around my neck, blocking my way deeper into the apartment. I missed you so much. Let's go straight to the bedroom. I'll give you a foot rub, then maybe you can massage me all over. I pushed her aside, left my shoes on, and headed for the kitchen. It looked empty, so for a split second I thought I'd lost my mind. Then I noticed the open window peering out. I saw a man down below. He must have jumped out from the second floor. Lucky for him, there was a pile of leftover construction material down there, sprinkled with fresh snow, basically forming a softish mound. Still, the guy was lying there, clutching his legs, wailing in pain. So Megan, are you just going to stand there? I asked. You heading out through the door or jumping after your lover? She bolted outside to comfort. The guy then called an ambulance. I grabbed her coat and bag from the closet, plus some other random stuff, and tossed it all out the window. There was a bottle of champagne on the table, so I poured myself a glass and stood there watching them struggle to get this screaming man onto a stretcher. It was pathetic, also heartbreaking and infuriating. I was busting my tail on night shifts to earn extra cash for the household while she was using those nights to meet up with some loser. So yeah, that's the end of it. I don't get what she was missing or how she could be so shameless.